watching the mind helps to transcend. Mind is finite. It gives the glimpse of infinite. It is the door. It is the door through which you can transcend. Time is an aspect of mind. And through that, mind learns to divide. But the journey of the beyond begins through the mind and its aspects. When you begin the meditation, you enter the mind, and when you start watching the mind and the functions of the mind, and the very fact of watching the mind makes you aware of the limitations of the mind. And then you realize that it is a state in transit, and you do not belong to the mind. Instead, you are a faraway entity, quantitatively different, qualitatively different, just a pure watching. In other words, just a pure mirror which only reflects the reality but is not imprinted by any reality. Aurobindo has explained various aspects of the mind: physical mind, mental mind, supermind. Physical mind, a little difference is necessary to understand. How does the physical mind works? It is automatic. You are driving the car. You are not even aware, and all of a sudden your steering turns towards the home. You may be thinking something else. This is an aspect of the physical mind. That is one way to understand the various aspects of the mind. But transcending beyond the mind is the way, the ultimate. And when you are journeying through the various aspects of the mind, it is like you are walking through the deserts. But if you add the dimension of love to it, then the journey becomes totally different. But these two have developed as a separate paths. Out of heart, the path developed as Sufi path, and out of the mind, a path developed Zen Buddhism. But if you really understand They are not separate. When traveling, you are traveling as well as there is a transit time. So both are necessary. A certain part of the journey is transit and a certain part of journey is traveling. So along the inward path, a certain part of the journey is through love, and then you reach the dimension beyond the mind, the journey of mind, journey through the mind, through the caves of the mind. And when mind becomes a mirror, if an ugly face comes in front of it, without any judgment, it shows the ugly face in its full details, without any condemnation. And when beautiful face appears, there is no appreciation and no evaluation either. It shows the ugly face and the beautiful face with the same detached, far away, reflecting, witnessing. And that is important. But as long as you are part of the mind, you are finite, the division comes in. The moment you become a witness, there will be no need to leave anything. Your ego becomes the outside gate. In fact, you do not have to leave it, instead, it will leave you. Even if you run after it, you cannot catch hold of it. So, the right process has to be understood. Ego is not something like your umbrella or your shoes or your raincoat that you leave outside the gate. It is hidden inside the mind. It is an aspect of the mind. It is an aspect of finiteness. You cannot leave your head outside. Ego comes along wherever you go. It has to be understood. In that understanding, it disappears. It is the false identity. Only a witness knows that ego is a false entity and you need not fight with it in any way. All that is false. Do you ever fight with darkness? The moment you start fighting with darkness, you will not be able to win it. When you find darkness in the room, do you struggle or pull the hand and bring it outside? Do you wrestle with it? Do you start taking out your sword to cut off the head of the darkness? If you do any such thing, that will simply show unintelligence. You will not be able to touch it even, the darkness that is in the room. You cannot throw the darkness into a neighbor's yard because it is not tangible. With the negative, nothing can be done directly. Darkness is the negative aspect. If you want to do anything with negative, then there is something to be done to bring the positive, the element that is missing. When you do not want darkness in the room, you bring the antidote of it, you bring the light in the room. You do not bother about darkness, your whole approach is totally different. You bring the light in, And the moment light comes in, you cannot find darkness anywhere. The same is true about your ego. It has no existence of its own. It is a false substitute that has given to you so that you can go on playing with it and completely forget the search for the real self. And the demands of this false ego are immense and are never fulfilled. It will demand money, it will demand respect, it will demand power, it will go on demanding things one after the other, and you go on fulfilling it, but it is never fulfilled, always remains empty. It's like that it has a bottomless base. The more you put into it, it just slips out of it. You cannot make an egoist contented. Ego is always requiring something more and more, growing bigger and bigger, and remains oozing always. The more you try to fill it, the more you will find that it is empty. The more demanding it becomes, you become almost a slave to a false entity, and life is wasted in ambitions that ego creates. It is one of the most dangerous inventions that society has managed to create. So when you want to drop, never think in terms of dropping it, because even the word drop gives you an idea that it is something. It is nothing in reality. It is not tangible. You cannot drop it. You cannot put it out of the door. You have to look into the reality of it. In deep meditation, you become a witness of all the functioning of the mind. Because the ego is the complicated byproduct of your mind's functioning, its thoughts, its desires, ideologies, prejudices, its politics, philosophy, its religion. Everything contributes in some way or the other to create a certain dimension of ego in you. It is important to understand this. Adi Shankar, when he met, while wandering in Himalayas, he met his master and he asked, "Who are you?" And in response to that, he explained, composed as composition, which says that I am neither the mind and neither the storehouse of the memory, nor the ego sense. I am the eternal bliss. I am the light. And by watching, that is the only way you can transcend beyond the mind. And when you transcend beyond the mind, you reach to a